What do most people not realize is newer than they actually think? The knowledge that it's bad to drink when pregnant only became widely known in the 80s. This one boggles my mind. Alcohol isn't exactly new. The ancient Greeks had wine and mead. The temperance movement was active for a good 100 years before they got the 18th Amendment. But nope. While there were certainly some alarms raised throughout history, people were surprised to learn about fetal alcohol syndrome in 1973, and it wasn't confirmed by a second group of researchers until 1979. In the 60s through 80s, it was apparently common for doctors to give alcohol intravenously to women to stop premature labor. Web link. I remember reading Brave New World, which was written before this discovery, and I recall they poisoned the embryos that would become deltas and epsilons with alcohol, in order to induce retardation and create the very most pliable citizens. Was this something people had a hunch about? Did people know little Billy was strange because his mom was wasted the whole time she was pregnant? Or was that just one hell of a guess by Aldous Huxley? Edit, I'm dumb. Obviously soaking test tube embryos, or fetuses, I forget how developed they were, in a known poison is totally different than knowing for certain that poison passed through the placental barrier. Edit, I'm dumb. Obviously soaking test tube embryos, or fetuses, I forget how developed they were, in a known poison is totally different than knowing for certain that poison passed through the placental barrier. How'd you figure this out without any replies? This is the power of ultra instinct. That explains a lot. Ciabatta bread goes all the way back to the early 1980s. Web link. Haha, I heard of that too, a while back. I went Googling it again and apparently baguettes are from early 1900s. Crazy, I would have thought they'd be historical. Holy crap, I didn't know baguettes were so new. Similarly, there's no records of existing before the 1960s. Oh, and was invented in Mexico by a guy called Cesar Cardini in 1924. Web link. What hit me the other day, Germany? It was only reunified 30 years ago. Yep, I saw West Germany on my birth certificate last month and felt like some ancient crone. When you're filling up forms or documents that require you to state your place of birth, do you still write West Germany or just Germany? Not original post, but as someone who was born in a BMH in W Germany, I just put Germany as my place of birth, but I have to put my nationality as British. Super confusing. Hey. Me too. There's a handful of us. The theory of plate tectonics. It pretty much makes up the entire backbone of modern geology, yet it wasn't actually accepted until the 1960s. Alfred Wegener proposed his theory of continental drift in 1915 but couldn't explain the mechanism behind it, so his theory was dismissed. Over the next few decades, the evidence of crustal movement became undeniable and plate tectonics developed as a theory. It's just crazy to me that geologists were pretty much completely clueless until around 60 years ago. Geologist here, I had professors who grew up before continental drift was accepted. My paleo professor's PhD advisor went to his grave denying continental drift was a thing. Wild. New Zealand. Its indigenous population only arrived there about 800 years ago, despite Australia just across the Tasman having been inhabited for 75,000 plus years. History class in New Zealand is really boring. We learn the same history year after year because there isn't a lot of it. Pluto, the celestial body, wasn't truly discovered until 1930. Only 1 year later, Mickey Mouse's dog was renamed from Rover to Pluto, likely to capitalize on the hype around this new planet, but there are no sources to confirm this. Toilet paper as we know it, soft, fluffy, white. Toilet paper that was free of wood splinters didn't exist until the 1920s. Hey, that's how I picked my username. Similar story, but, well, never mind. One reason the Sears catalog became so popular. After you ordered everything you needed from it, you hung it by a string in the outhouse. Yeah, my family in Kentucky always talk about how much it sucked having to go outside to use the bathroom at night and how disappointed they were when the Sears catalog changed to glossy paper. Farmers' almanacs still use the same paper for this purpose. Wood splinters? How? People use scrap paper and Sears catalogs for toilet paper. I am not joking. One local political candidate, I think it was Huey Long, had the idea of using cheap newsprint for flyers during his campaigns instead of fancy paper because he knew people would always accept them because they needed toilet paper. Back in the 90s, my great-grandma still didn't have indoor plumbing and we had to use the outhouse when we stayed with her. She kept stacks of catalogs and magazines in there instead of toilet paper. Sometimes you need some friction. So the phrase "tear that ass up" originated during splintered toilet paper era, then? Thanks for reminding me I need to buy some lube. Hallways weren't widely used until the 1800s. Rooms would just open into the next room. I just realized that the old house I grew up in didn't have any hallways. It never dawned on me. Makes sense, it's how I build houses in The Sims. I just realized that I never built hallways on the first floor, all the rooms just connect to the living room and kitchen/dining area. I usually have a landing on the second floor because the stairs take up so much room, but never a legit hallway. I grew up in an early 20th century house with no hallways, so that's probably where that came from. Yep, it's odd seeing an old house where you have to pass through a bedroom to get to another room. Just doesn't seem right. Your comment made me realize how strange this idea is to my modern sensibilities. My sisters had to walk through us boys' room. Privacy? What's that? My younger brother and I had to go through my big brother's room. The fear of enter and crossing was palpable. We would make game plans to distract or bargain our way safely through. Often, I would sleep in the living room for fear of whatever weird booby trap awaited me. Hey Bob, I've got this idea. Yeah? What if we had a room for getting to other rooms? What? You could have a room, sort of in the middle of the house that just had doors to other rooms in it. Are you kidding me? What kind of entitled-ass mother effer would want a room that serves no purpose except to get to other rooms? Doors too good for you, Ted? Machu Picchu. The Tower of London predates it by almost 400 years. I think the Incas, Aztecs, and Mayans in general are all more recent than most people realize. A lot of people also don't realize that Mayan people are still around too. Incans too, sort of. They're direct descendants, who still speak their language, Quechua, live in the Andes to this day. Spelling edit again, so I ended up looking into it further, and it looks like Quechua wasn't exclusive to the Incan people and apparently predated their empire. So today I learned, I guess. My best friend for school was Bolivian. 1 month his grandmother came to visit, she only spoke Quechuan, and liked to talk to me a lot. To this day I have no idea what she told me. I lived in Bolivia for 2 years, loved it. Picked up Spanish pretty quick, but Quechua is another beast entirely. I still remember how to say no money though, haha. Mana can't you colk? About the only other thing I learned was Amainai Keisanki. It should be noted I don't really know how to spell these phrases, it's my best guess, which if I recall meant how are you? The now commonly accepted theory that a large meteor caused, or was a major cause of, the extinction of the dinosaurs. When you watch Fantasia, 1940, and see the Rite of Spring sequence, wherein you witness the extinction of the dinosaurs, you see that it's portrayed as a great drought which was followed by a series of massive earthquakes. That's because at that time, this was the most accepted idea of what caused the mass extinction. The theory of the dinosaurs being killed off by a meteor strike, or the effects of said strike on the planet, rather, is called the Alvarez theory and was first proposed by Luis and Walter Alvarez in the year 1980. I'm 32 and I can remember being taught in elementary school that the meteor/asteroid theory was just one of many accepted theories about how the dinosaurs went extinct and that they had no solid evidence of it at the time. It's crazy how recent it is. Picasso's death. 1973, I'm sure. Same with Salvador Dali. He died in 1989. Salvador Dali outlived Jean-Michel Basquiat. Something that blows my mind, Picasso could have seen the Godfather movie. He actually did, and sort of reviewed it. Let me find the link. Please do. Their faces are too normal, even the ones that got shot in the head. 2/5 stars, Picasso. Look what they did to my Picasso. Reminds me, Charlie Chaplin died in 1977. Same year they invented the high five apparently. Must have been a wild year. How do you think Chaplin died? High five overdose? Which raises an important question. What did Charlie Chaplin think of Star Wars? If he saw it. Star Wars release date, May 25, 1977. Charlie Chaplin death date, December 25, 1977. He definitely could have seen Star Wars. Yeah, but the funeral wasn't over until like 1990 because they had to read off his entire name. 401k retirement accounts. Didn't start until about 1980. AKA we have yet to see an entire generation actually retire with a 401k. Edit. Wow, thanks for all the awards. Go out and vote, y'all. This one I didn't know. So the first generation that started 401k investing is about to retire. That will no doubt make life interesting. A bunch of boomers and essentially pre-boomers have retired with 401ks plus pensions. They made bank. One of the reasons USPS is such a big employer of veterans is because you can do 20 years in the military, retire with your pension, then do 20 years at the post office and get pension there, too, by the time you're 60. But don't you have to spend 20 years in the military and 20 years at the post office? Yes, but if you joined the military at 18, and then started working at the post office immediately after, you'd retire comfortably at 58. Which is a pretty young age to retire. Not to mention the 20 years that you worked at the post office, you'd be earning your salary and military pension. If you save some of that money, you'd be building even more wealth. This one blew my mind. Not as crazy if you think about it. People didn't need a 401k, pensions were a common thing back then. I actually remember when the company I worked for sent out the notice that the pension plan was being eliminated and replaced by a 401k plan. So I'm literally the bridge generation. I will have both a small pension and a 401k. Grass. It's a relatively new plant. Grass happened after dinosaurs went extinct. Mr. Stegosaurus never roamed on grasses. Edit. I've loved reading the responses. Thanks, folks. It's given me some interesting information. For example, the precursor to grass looks like it popped up just before the extinction meteor bopped Earth right in the kisser, at around 66 million years ago. Then, boom, extinction event, which kind of leveled the playing field, clearing lots of space and resulting in fewer consumers of plants, letting the pre-grass plants evolve more freely into what we recognize as grass. Meanwhile, sharks are older than trees. And Saturn's rings. Most animals are older than Saturn's rings. Rings are a temporary feature and they could be as young as 10 million years old and no more than 100 million years old. Making them at most as old as ducks and at least as old as cats. While Stegosaurus was likely extinct before grass, we have found grass in poop from the Cretaceous period. Antibiotics. People in the generation of your grandparents could have died from stubbing a toe. First dude they tested penicillin on nearly died from scratching his hand on one of his rose bushes. Then he died the rest of the way because they ran out. Died the rest of the way. Laughing my butt off, I'm dying. Ah, crap. Here we go again. And in another generation when we have antibiotic immune bacteria, might experience the same threat. Edit. Thanks for all the comments. It seems that there might be more hope than I previously thought. What a terrifying thought, lol. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.